So we can all agree that Olivia Rodrigo is making 2021 her year. After blowing up the charts with Driver's License making her the youngest artist in history to debut at #1, she's proven herself to be the star of the moment. Her debut album Sour has gained nearly 1 billion streams off just 3 singles, all of which have or are projected to be top 10 debuts. These are debuts, not just charting in the top 10, like literally starting off right at the top 10. Beyond the charts, she's already performed on SNL before even having an album out and has received critical acclaim from just about everybody and their mom. She's also breaking ground as one of the few Filipino-American artists out there charting and making noise. Sour is finally out, and now we get to find out if she's the real deal. Oftentimes, debut albums tend to be more miss than hit, with singles being clearly better than the album tracks. I'm gonna go through the album in order and then share my overall thoughts and score at the end. Thematically, Sour is an album about emotions that people are shamed for: jealousy, anger, and heartache. So it opens with a track, Brutal. Brutal is such a fun opening track. I love how it's really punky and it captures what it's like being 17 and mad at the world. Her vocals are really fun here. The distortion makes it messy but captures the sort of grit that she wants to have. Let me tell you how cool it is to have an artist who really leans into being angsty and doesn't worry about sounding too cringy. A lot of artists tend to lose their authenticity by trying to seem too cool, but Olivia effortlessly says no to that. Brutal really feels like an opener to a musical, especially with the outro changing tones so suddenly. The next track, Traitor, just opens up so ethereally. This is a ballad that perfectly comes right before Driver's License on the track listing. It really reminded me of Heather by Conan Gray in the best way possible. If I was 17 years old, this would definitely cut me to the core. The lyricism here is so direct and to the point. Much like the record in whole, there are no flowery metaphors. Olivia's outright sharing and detailing how betrayed she felt. It took you 2 weeks to go off and date her. Guess you didn't cheat, but you're still a traitor. These lyrics really paint a picture so well before she goes into a short bridge that really evokes her musical idol's iconic All Too Well, which is a really high compliment. I don't know, this track was definitely one of my favorites, and with or without the context of the Joshua-Sabrina love triangle drama, it stands alone as a very vulnerable portrait of a teenage girl experiencing her first heartbreak in the worst way possible. Which brings us to Driver's License. What can I say other than the fact that this track has really aged very well, which I was surprised by. I thought I was gonna hate the track after so many months of it being #1, and you know, it still carries its power, and it's probably the best first single she could have picked from this album. With Traitor right behind it, this track hits so much harder than it did as a standalone single. 1 step forward, 3 steps back is really unique in that it samples the chords from New Year's Day from Taylor's iconic Reputation album. I honestly think it's really cute that 1 and 3 in the title really make 13, such a cute little Easter egg, but she really makes the chords her own very quickly with a folksy, jazzy melody that plays with the instrumental a lot. Again, narratively, it's pretty simple. It's about a lover who's very back and forth. She can't really get enough of this guy, but she knows that it's not good for her to continue. On first listen, this was definitely one of the weaker tracks for me, but it certainly is a grower. On a few more listens, I ended up really digging it. I do think track placement-wise, it isn't really wise to put these in between the first 2 singles because it becomes forgettable almost, but regardless, I'm glad to see that she's gotten Swift and Antonoff's checkmark of approval on just 1 album. Controversial opinion, but Deja Vu is my favorite single of hers so far. Yeah, it hit the top 10 and it definitely did deserve #1. The instrumental, the cruel summer vibes, the sharp cutting lyrics. When she first dropped it, it was proof to everyone that she's here to stay. Within the context of the album, its placement next to Good For You makes so much sense. Both of these tracks really comprise of what I consider the climax of the record. Her form of processing how it's truly over with this guy, figuring out what that means for her emotionally. I think that her voicing, how she sings the lyrics, how the lyrics blend together are so much stronger on these 2 tracks than any other tracks. Dan Nigro's production here really blends so many genres and sounds together that it just works. Good For You is such an undeniable banger. It wasn't even meant to be the third proper single, but it hits so hard and it's projected to hit #1 that it became the third single. Music videos, imagery is so immaculate. It's sure to be iconic. I'm gonna see a lot of cheerleader outfits this Halloween. Alexander 23's production adds so much to the track. Olivia's lyricism on here captures how it feels to be rightfully spiteful and upset. And let's talk about that vocal break. I am so in love with it. Oh my god, right up to the sociopath line. Favorite part of the track. I've seen so many mashups with the song Misery Business by Paramore, and it's just about right. I think that the late 2000s punk sound is what we've been missing for so long, and I can't wait to see other artists really ape this sound. It's so exciting. The next track, Enough For You, after 2 powerhouse tracks, we get a more acoustic sound that's more or less a showcase of her ability to write personal lyrics and play with melodies. I don't know about you guys, but I thought that I'd get tired of hearing about the subject matter, which is essentially coping with insecurities and the sour feelings of being young and heartbroken, but it's so cohesive I can't be upset. Emotions tend to exist in spectrums, and the song is reaching the acceptance stage, especially the end, which is really uplifting and relatable. The lines, "cause someday I'll be everything to someone else and they'll think that I'm so exciting and you'll be the one who's crying," those lines at the end really capture the end goal of the record, to see herself as enough, not just for someone else, but herself. We continue the ballads with Happier, which is a really special song because this is the track that convinced producer Dan Nigro to commit to making a record with her. Along with Enough For You, these are the 2 tracks that she wrote without anybody else's help. It's really mature compared to other tracks. There's an admission that the other girl got the guy for a reason, but there's also enough humility to admit that she still wants to be the best that he's ever had. Jealousy is a knockout of a track. I adore the Fiona Apple influence with the fun intonations and the instrumental. I like that this is a detour away from heartbreak because she really talks about genuine insecurities that she has. She really talks about her insecurity about her appearance, which is a real issue that affects everyone at some point, but through her lens of not fitting the image of paper white teeth and perfect bodies. I find it just a little ironic coming from her because she's a gorgeous superstar breaking records left and right and kicking ass, but at the same time, where she writes from is a genuine place. There's also a really fun moment where she does the me he he thing that Taylor did, inverting that song's message of self-love in the first chorus. I thought it was such a nice touch. With Favorite Crime, we're back to a more grounded sound. The subject matter feels reminiscent of other tracks, but the harmonies really do make the track work. I really did like the bridge of the track. I think that the last chorus really adds some much needed life to the production. It's not my favorite track, sadly. I feel like it's another grower. It might take some time, but it just didn't hit with me. Hope You're Okay closes out this wonderful album. It's the first track to really break away from insecurities and heartbreak, and it's actually really amazing. She sings about people that she's known before who she hopes have moved on from their bad situations. In the bridge, she really changes it to address her listeners. It doesn't quite tie together with the overarching story of a teenage girl seething from romance gone wrong, but it does show that she can think beyond herself and her struggles and see a bigger picture and a world of hurt. I really adore the compassion that she has for herself and for her listeners, and this track is a testament to that. Overall, this is probably one of the strongest debut albums that I've seen from an artist in years. Olivia and Dan have done such a good job of cutting this down to just 11 tracks with really no skips. I also really have to give it to Geffen Interscope. The single choices were outstanding. The promo cycle and the imagery are perfectly targeted for the Gen Z masses. I see a lot of people bring up that she's a Disney girl, but she's shaken that image off. A lot of people think of her as an artist and a musician first, and that's a blessing that my generation of Disney girl stars never really had. She's made an amazing impact so far, broken records, and delivered a solid contender for Album of the Year. She's definitely getting the Best New Artist trophy next year at the Grammys, no questions asked. I will say I do have a few criticisms. Personally, I want to hear more variety on the next record in terms of storytelling. The subject matter, while really focused and cohesive, can be repetitive. The production more than makes up for it. I was really reminded of Conan Gray's Kid Crow a couple of times while listening because they do share the same producer, but I was also thinking of Lord's Pure Heroine, which really dived into different themes that Sour just didn't touch on while remaining relatively cohesive. I do chalk it up to life experience. I believe that the more an artist has lived and experienced life, the stronger their work becomes. Melodrama was such a huge leap over pure heroine in terms of lyricism and meaning, and so was Fearless and every subsequent album that Taylor's ever had. I know comparisons aren't fair to new artists, but I do mean them in the best way possible. Olivia is starting so strong, and I personally am so proud to see it happen. I'm rooting for her. This record is a great standalone effort and a solid 9 out of 10. Highly recommended. If there are any must listens, you need to listen to Traitor, Deja Vu, Good For You, Jealousy, Jealousy, and Hope You're Okay. Okay, so what was your favorite track? If you aren't a Livy, did this album win you over? Comment below. I love to talk with you guys. I always respond to most comments as long as they're not annoying. A special thanks to my members and subscribers. Don't forget to hit that button, hit that notification bell, hit that subscribe button. I will see you very soon. Can't wait.